Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for part 4 of my NBA trade deadline spectacular. I'm not going to call it that. That sounds weird. Spectacular. Just special. Just my NBA trade deadline special. So anyway, let's pick up where we left off, shall we? This video is, let me preface this. This one's going to be very boring. It's a lot of salary dumps and small deals. So hopefully you saw the first 3 parts and you're just catching up. Or, if this is your first time on the channel, I really appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure you, like and subscribe. And go watch the other 3 parts. They're a little bit more exciting than this one's going to be. Like I said, it's just a bunch of salary dumps and smaller deals. But let's get into it, yeah. So, the first deal was the Toronto Raptors, the Brooklyn Nets, and Los Angeles Clippers. Toronto acquired Chris Paul. Although he doesn't have to report. This is different than the D'Angelo Russell deal that I talked about in the last video situation because the Raptors and Chris Paul agreed to not report. Like Toronto agreed that he didn't have to. D'Angelo Russell just decided he didn't want to report to where did he go? He went Washington. So he just decided he didn't want to report to Washington. So they freed some money up. So with him retiring. So that's good, I guess. The Brooklyn Nets received Ochai Agbaji and a 2032 second. So far through 2 games, Ochai has not scored, but he has 7 rebounds. But that doesn't tell the full story about Agbaji. I think he is one of the most accurate shooters in the league. He may not shoot a ton, but he shot 40% from 3 last year and 50% from the field in total. He is such an incredibly accurate shooter. He's 40% from the field over every single year in his entire career. So, I don't see him, his contract is expiring. I don't see a world where the Nets extend him, but I'm kind of just hyping him up for his next team because he is just so incredibly accurate whenever he does shoot the ball. So, hopefully he finds a home where he can get paid and he can show that he is just such an incredibly accurate shooter. I have a soft spot for guys like this that may not shoot the ball a ton, but when they do, he's going to cash out. So, the Clippers received in this trade, I'm going to try to pronounce his name, and I'm sorry if I botch it. It is Vanja Markanovic. They received the rights to him. This is a weird one, because he's been traded 4 times. So, I don't know how it works because they traded his rights, but did whoever had him, I think it was like the Nets had him first or something, did they draft him and he was just like, no? Or I don't know how it works. I don't understand how the rights work because I don't think he has any plans to come over to the U.S. I don't think it's going to happen. He just tore his ACL. Shout out, please come back better. I know you're playing in Europe, but please come back better. But he's also 29. So he'll be 30 and playing on a torn ACL. So I don't really see a world. And he would have to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the U.S. and play for the Clippers, who is coached by Tyronn Lue. I wouldn't want to do that either. I wouldn't want to play for Tyronn Lue if I had 0 ace. If I had 2 ACLs and I was 2016 Steph Curry and they offered me $3 billion. If they see that contract come across my table and it says head coach Tyronn Lue, I'm lighting it on fire. Because man, I hate Tyronn Lue. I will never forgive him for what he has done to Chris Paul. This is a tangent, right? I had a conversation with my mom the other day about why I hate Tyronn Lue so much. And I went into pretty decent detail of what he did to Chris Paul. I would have to say Tyronn Lue is probably top 5, if not top 3, of my least favorite people on the face of the planet. I do not like Tyronn Lue at all for what he did to Chris Paul. If you don't know, I got a video on it, so you can go check that out. I'm not going to get into it here because, if you want to know, you can go watch that video or you can Google it. But I really rather prefer if you watch my video. Thank you, of course. But yeah, I hate Tyronn Lue so very much. So if I was Vanja, it sounds like Ganja, it's pretty funny. But if I was Vanja, I wouldn't want to play either. I would wait till either I got traded again or I would just stay in Europe. I don't even know what he's doing in Europe, but I would stay there because I'm not playing for Tyronn Lue. Okay, the next deal. was the Atlanta Hawks, the Utah Jazz, and the Cleveland Cavaliers agreeing to a three-team trade. The Hawks received Jacques Landale, which was really just another salary move for the Hawks. His contract expires, and he's a decent player though. He's averaging 11.5 and 6.4 on the season, but he's also starting one of my fantasy leagues because Jakob Pertl is hurt, and so I gotta have somebody starting at the 5. I'm not doing very well in that league. I think I'm like 3-14 or something. My team is really bad. I kind of screwed my future up. I made a for one, I drafted Scoot second overall. That was bad. And then there was a deal I made in that league. I want to say I traded like Jalen Brunson and Kawhi, and was it also James Harden? I want to say I traded them three for like, I'd have to look it up, but it was like, it was some horrible deal that I made. Also in that league, we're just going off the rails. We're not even talking about trades anymore. In that league, there was a deal a few years ago, because it's a dynasty. It's not a redraft league. It's a dynasty league. There was a trade for John Wall for Anthony Edwards. That's crazy to think about in hindsight. Obviously, if you go back to the day, even then, it's crazy to think about. Like there was a 1-for-1 swap for John Wall for Anthony Edwards. That's insane to think about. Like obviously, like I said, hindsight's 2020. It's a really bad deal now to look at, but it's just so crazy to think about that deal actually happened in like one of my fantasy leagues. That's so crazy. Anyway, let's get back to the actual trade discussion. Let's get to the bread and butter of the video. The Cavaliers got nothing. They literally got nothing in this trade. I looked for probably a good 35 minutes trying to figure out what happened, and they got nothing. Just squat. They traded away Lonzo and 2 seconds to Utah and got nothing. They did it to get under the second apron, but yeah, they got nothing. They traded my boy Lonzo for literally nothing. That's a shame. He was so hyped. That's a shame what happened to Lonzo Ball. Taken in the first round, and now we just watched him get traded for literally nothing. Just nothing. He was having a really bad year, but I hate to say this, but I mean, with how many injuries he's been dealing with and everything that's happened, we probably weren't ever going to get another good Lonzo Ball season ever again. And I don't know if I said it, but he got waived by Utah, so he doesn't have a team right now. Hopefully he can find somewhere to get paid. I really hope so, because, we always want to see Lonzo playing. He's a fun dude to watch, but we'll probably just never get another healthy Lonzo Ball season. Sucks to think about, man. It really does. It's really sucky to think about. The next deal was the Toronto Raptors and the Golden State Warriors. They agreed to trace Jackson Davis to Toronto, where they really needed help in at the 5 with Pirtle dealing with his injury and still being out. And Jackson Davis was he's a cheap answer. And he played well in his first game in Toronto. He put up a double-double in 16 minutes. He didn't play as good as the second game, but we're focusing on the first game because a double-double is impressive, So hopefully he can stay in that first game form for the rest of the season. Obviously, in a perfect world, we always want to see the players, play to their best ability. Because you're in the NBA. You're the best in the world. So we obviously always want to see them playing to their highest standards. The problem, though, with Jackson Davis is he never really has played that much. His minutes per game was at his highest in his rookie season at 16 minutes a game, and they've only gone down from there. So hopefully, he's a fresh start in Toronto. He has a club option next year for $2.4 million. I could see them picking that up. He's a solid, cheap backup. If he's gonna put up double doubles in 16 minutes, you absolutely pick that up. So hopefully, hopefully they can pick it up, and hopefully he can figure it out and really, find him a new home to just kick it into a high gear. So the Warriors received 1 second in this deal. It was more of just like I said, it was it's a salary move for the Warriors, getting rid of Trace Jackson Davis. They're not going to be good this year. They are doing Curry, slightly wrong. They didn't do anything big. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm sorry. We'll get to a trade in a minute that they did do that helped out the team, but it's not going to put them in contention, even though we all want to see Curry win another ring. But just more salary moves. So, the next deal was the Knicks and the Bulls. The Knicks received Dalen Terry, who they again traded. They traded him later. And the Bulls received Gershon Yabusele. So, he's getting some serious minutes in Chicago so far. And he's shooting the ball a lot. He is 30, though. So, he will be a free agent after the end of this year. As he declined his player option. There's not a ton to say about Gershon. It is super interesting that he declined his player option. I mean, I wouldn't want to play in Chicago either. But that's super interesting. So, I don't know. Then the final trade of this video we're going to talk about is the Atlanta Hawks and the Golden State Warriors agreeing to their deal to send Kristaps to Golden State. He won't play until after the All-Star break, but man, was this needed. I mean, this was incredibly needed for the Warriors. They need help at 5, and he's a great acquisition to get for them to play at the center position. He's 7'2", and he can shoot. He is on an expiring contract. He is making $30 million, which is insane that the Celtics agreed to that, to trade Kristaps pay him $30 million. That's insane. But yeah, he's a good rental center. He's, like I said, he's huge guy, 7'2", and he can shoot the ball with the best of them at the position. And, pairing him with Curry is going to be super interesting. But the important part of this deal is what the Atlanta Hawks received, and that is finally Jonathan Kuminga is gone. Hallelujah. This marriage had to have been over. It's been over for months, and it finally came to its conclusion. I saw a I'm sure most of y'all did, a headline that said that Kuminga got in trouble because in the Warriors, I want to say it was their box, one of his family members was eating too much food. So he got in trouble for it. This is crazy. They were doing everything but not ending the marriage between the two. It's insane. They were just doing things to piss the other one off. It was crazy. It's insane what was happening in Golden State. And oh my goodness. But yeah, hopefully we can, see Kuminga in his new home just finally get to play the game. You watch him in Golden State after Steve Kerr, took him out of the rotation almost entirely. And you just see the little bit of time he did play. You just see how much he loves the game of basketball. And that he just simply wants to play. So, I'm so glad for Jonathan Kuminga that he's finally going to be able to do that in Atlanta at a young Atlanta team. So, much love to my guy Jonathan Kuminga. Shout out. And the Hawks also got Buddy Hield in this trade. He's played a total of 5 minutes. He's a good shooter. And he hasn't been this year. He's cheap, but he's not going to be part of the Hawks' future. So there's not much to talk about. So, I don't know. Good for Buddy Hield, I guess. He'll find a new home. I don't know where that'd be. Hopefully somewhere that he can, contend for a championship. But, yeah. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching. And at the end of the day, just remember I'm just a guy with a microphone and an opinion. Peace out.